look, I got another present. I wonder what it is. Hi, Presto.
Surprise!
Well, great. What's the surprise for?
Well, your birthday, of course. I did make it in time, right?
You're about a week late.
Well, I mailed myself on the 14th.
Yeah, well, you know.
Next day's shipping, my hiney.
Well, I'm glad you're here anyway.
Whoa! So what are we doing today?
Well, it's Thursday, and you know what we do on Thursdays?
Well, of course, a 3 ingredients recipe. That's why I came.
Oh, cool. And you know what we're doing this time?
What?
We're going to make a vegan recipe.
A vegan recipe?
Yeah, that means...
Does it have carrots?
No, but it has potatoes.
Potatoes.
Yeah, you get those.
But not carrots.
No carrots, but you get those in the garden too.
Oh, of course.
Of course. So, why don't we get ready to make this 3-ingredient vegan recipe?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So today I'm going to make a very simple 3-ingredient...
What?
Are you planning on wearing the box the whole time?
Sure, it's the latest fashion trend.
Oh, it's... I mean, I don't mean to say anything, but it makes you look a little hippie.
Sure. I feel like a little naked rabbit in here.
Well, you've got fur. These stars are a total diva. There we go.
Better?
Yeah. See, don't you feel better?
Just don't look.
I won't look.
Okay.
So today we are going to make a pasta recipe.
Pasta.
Yep, a pasta out of potatoes.
Pasta and potato?
Yes, it's a pasta made out of potatoes called...
Pasta and potato sauce?
Nope, not with potato
tomato
sauce.
sauce that I have for this pasta.
No, it is a pasta made out of potatoes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called...
What do they think up next?
Well, this one they thought up a long time ago. It's called...
A long time ago?
Yep, it's called
Before they had real spaghetti?
I don't know. I don't know the history of it, but I know it's been around for a long time. It's called gnocchi.
Gnocchi?
Gnocchi.
Gnocchi?
Gnocchi.
Gnocchi.
Yep. So why don't we show you what the 3 ingredients are?
Well, one of them's potatoes, I think.
One of them's potatoes. So,
Okay.
All right.
All right.
The first ingredient, as we said, is...
Potatoes!
Potatoes! Now, this is another one of those recipes that depends entirely on how many people you are cooking for, because it is...
How many are we cooking for?
Well, you, that's
Me.
1, and me,
Okay, that's 2.
that's 2. So we are going to use 2 large russet potatoes.
Russet?
Yeah, basically as many baked potatoes as you would make for your guests is as many potatoes as you want to use in this pasta.
Wow.
So 1 potato per person.
1 potato, 2 potato.
1 potato per person for pasta.
I can't think of a P word.
Oh, how about Patrick?
Patrick.
Or Presto!
Presto!
So get as many potatoes as you would normally serve, and then we will use the other ingredients in the same ratios to go with those potatoes.
Wow.
Yep. Our next ingredient is...
All-purpose flour.
All-purpose flour. For
Another P word.
For our potato pasta, use all-purpose flour. And again, we are going to adjust the ratios depending on how many people you are serving.
2.
We have 2 potatoes, so you use a 1/2 cup or so of all-purpose flour for every potato. So we would be 1 cup.
1 cup.
1 cup for 2 potatoes.
1 cup for 2 potatoes.
So if you were
1
going...
cup for 2 potatoes.
Yep, so we're going to use...
Sorry, I'm committing it to memory.
Okay, that's great. So we're going to use for this recipe 1 cup or so of all-purpose flour.
Or so.
Or so. You'll see. You'll see how that works.
Okay.
Our final ingredient is salt.
Salt.
Yep. Now, when you think about potatoes and you think about flour, do you think about something spicy?
Not usually. No.
No. Potatoes are pretty bland. They've
If
got...
you have a baked potato with all sorts of, like, I don't know, all sorts of really hot ingredients on it. You know?
Right. But on a baked
trimmings and all that
potato,
stuff.
I like to put a lot of salt on my baked potato.
Oh.
So what we're going to use the salt for is we are going to salt the water that you boil this in, and that's going to season your potato gnocchi.
Salt is in season.
Salt as in season.
Okay.
All right, and
All right.
again, this is just to season the water, so you're going to make the water nice and salty.
Salt water. Saltwater gnocchi.
Okay, so I have taken my 2 potatoes and I baked them. Now, I baked these in the microwave right now, and the reason I did that is because I'm going to be discarding these skins, and usually when I bake a potato, I will throw it into the oven because the skin is a really important part. Because I just want the flesh inside the potato, I just decided that I would take these and throw these into the microwave. Took about 7 minutes because these are 2 rather large russet potatoes. Depends on how powerful your microwave is and how large the potatoes are. You can always bake them, or if you wanted to, you could peel these and throw them into boiling water in order to make mashed potatoes. Whichever way you want to do it makes the most sense. Basically, we're using these as a binding agent and just a little bit of flavor, so it really doesn't matter the way that you cook them as long as you get them nice and soft. Now, these are very hot still, but I'm going to be careful and just cut these open so that they can cool a lot faster. I don't know if my camera is going to pick up the steam coming from these, but these are very, very hot potatoes. They're nice and soft in the middle here, and we're going to try to retain that nice fluffiness while we're dealing with this and making this into a dough. So I'm just going to set this aside for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be back to continue building this dough. All right, the potatoes are now still a little bit warm, but they are soft enough to handle. So basically I'm going to take as much flesh out of the skin as I can. These were microwaved quite soft, so it may be that some of the skin breaks apart as I do this. And as I hold them, they are still quite warm, so let's get the skin off of all of these. So now the skin is off of these 2 potatoes. I have quite a big bowl of mashed potatoes here. I'm now going to take a potato masher, and I'm just going to mash them up a little bit further. What you want is for these to be nice and light and fluffy, with as few lumps as you can get in them. If you happen to have a potato ricer, that works really well, because what it does is it really gets them into small bits without mushing them down too much. A masher works just fine too, just try not to make them too squishy, I guess is the term I'm looking for here. You want them to be nice and light and fluffy. That's the main thing with gnocchi, is that gnocchi is beautifully fluffy, and they're almost like little pasta pillows when you eat them. Now that this is all mashed up and nice and fluffy, what I'm going to do is pour this out onto a floured surface. I'm just using my countertop. If you happen to have a marble surface, that works much, much better, but I don't, because I have a very small kitchen and we work on a budget here, which is fine. Oop, little piece of skin here. Now we're just going to squish this out and keep it as fluffy as possible. This works really well with your hands. My hands are going to be covered in flour and potatoes, but that's fine. That means we're cooking. And now I have 2 potatoes, which means I'll probably wind up using about a cup to a cup and a half of flour. I'm going to start with a little 1/3 of a cup, and I'm just going to add that to my potatoes. And then I'm going to take a spatula, like this, and I'm just going to start cutting in the flour into the potatoes. Now again, the idea is to make this nice and light and fluffy, so we are going to squish this together, but not too much as we go along. So we really do want to just cut this in like a pastry dough. If you've ever cut in a pastry dough, and in fact, if you have a pastry cutter, that would work just fine as well. You could really cut that in. It's like cutting, if you've ever cut butter into flour, it basically does the same sort of thing. So what's going to happen is, as you cut it, it's going to turn into, they always say pea-sized, but you eyeball it so you get a nice fluffy dough-like consistency as you add this together. Okay, now I'm just testing to see how this feels. It still feels quite a bit just like mashed potatoes. So I'm going to add in another 1/3 of a cup. Like I said, we might even get as far as 2 cups. These were quite large potatoes, but I'm actually just going to add half of a 1/3 of a cup. My math skills aren't great, so whatever that is in fractions. And you can do this tablespoon by tablespoon. I don't have enough patience to go tablespoon by tablespoon. That would take a long time, and I want to get some gnocchi and share that with Presto. Okay, and then we're gonna give this another feel. And yeah, it's starting to feel like a dough now. So what I'm going to do, see how it's kind of still splitting apart just a little bit? So I'm just gonna add a little bit more flour. Again, if you're used to working with doughs, you'll start to notice when it actually feels like a dough that holds together as you work with it. You don't want to work it in You don't want to work it too much, because again, the idea is to have a light, fluffy consistency and not a tough consistency and not a very gooey. It can get very gluey if you work it too much and if you don't have enough flour in there. So it's a little bit of a delicate balance, but don't worry. If you don't do it exactly right, you'll still have a very delicious product. And you've made your own pasta, which is quite a feat in itself. A lot of people are a little bit intimidated by pasta. Okay, let's go for a tiny bit more. There we go. So all in all, it took about 1 1/3 cups of flour, and now it just feels, like I said, if you've worked with any kind of dough, with a pastry dough. So I have done quite a bit of manipulation here with this dough. I don't want to work it too much. I have worked it quite a bit, but it actually is still a pretty fluffy dough. My counter is a total mess, which means I've done a good job. I've done some cooking. I've done some preparation. I'm going to wrap this in some plastic wrap and set it aside for a good half an hour to 45 minutes. And that's going to allow this to rest, for it all to come back together again. And then we will roll it out into gnocchi and boil it up, and then we will have some dinner. All right, a couple of things that I have. I have my dough, which has rested for a good half hour, maybe. It might be closer to 20 minutes because I am a little bit impatient to have some great gnocchi. And I also have a plate with some flour on it. Now, as I cut out the gnocchi, I'm going to put them onto this plate with the flour so that they don't stick together. The dough is very sticky, and in order to keep it all from sticking together, you're going to want to keep it on a floured plate. And then when you are cooking it, we will see in a moment or two, you want to make sure that you only cook a little bit at a time, because they are going to stick together and you don't want a big sticky mess. So now I am going to unwrap my dough, and yep, you can actually feel the difference when it has been resting for a little while. It definitely holds together a little bit better. So I'm going to cut this dough into 4 equal pieces. It doesn't really matter. We're not measuring here too much, so if they're not terribly equal, that's fine. I'm just going to work with one piece at a time. And what I'm going to do is roll it out fairly evenly, just because you want it all to cook evenly. And this is where you can tell if you've added enough flour to this, because it is working very nicely. You want to take your time with this, and basically what you want to take your time with this, and basically what you want to do is roll this out into a nice long snake that's all basically the same size, or the same thickness, I should say, all the way around. So see down here about this thickness? That's what I'm going for the rest of this. I'm gonna move my plate a little bit. And we're just gonna roll this and do this nice and gently. You don't see how it's kind of coming apart a little bit here, but you don't want you don't want to push down on it, push it down real hard. What you want to do is make sure that you keep this nice, light, and fluffy, because that is basically what gnocchi are. They're nice, light, fluffy pillows of potato pasta. Say that 5 times fast. Pillows of potato pasta. All right, and as you can see, this is, as you get it all stretched out, it turns into quite a lot of pasta. Remember, you have 2 full potatoes and a whole 1.25 cups of flour. So we are feeding, I would say 2 people, but we're feeding 1 person and a rabbit. So 2 potatoes is just fine. If you're feeding a crowd, you can bring it up to 3. Maybe I've seen recipes with 6 potatoes. That might be for a nice big family that you're dealing with. But for us, for just the 2 of us in this kitchen, it's only going to take a couple of potatoes. So now I'm just going to cut these, and I'm going to cut them as evenly as I can into little pillows like this. And then as I cut them for storage, I'm just going to throw them right onto my floured plate here. And as you throw them on there, they'll get a little bit of flour on them. And that's what you want. You want them to just keep from sticking. All right, now I'm going to do the rest of these just right now, but look how much you get from 1/4, and that isn't even the large the large quarter, meaning I didn't cut it exactly evenly, but look how much pasta you get from, it would be about half a potato and a little tiny bit of flour. So if you're making dinner for yourself, you can make 2 nice dinners out of a single potato and a little bit of flour. So not only is this vegan, delicious, but it's also really economical. I'm going to cut up the rest of that dough and then I'll show you how to cook it. All right, our water is boiling quite a bit and it's nice, and you've got a nice rolling boil. You don't want to do this too quickly. You don't want to throw this in when the water is not hot enough. Sometimes you can get away with that with pasta. With gnocchi, it's not going to work. It'll turn gluey. You want this to cook as quickly as possible. This is where the salt comes in. You are going to add a lot of salt to this water. What you want this to taste like is almost like ocean water. The only seasoning that we are putting into this gnocchi is this salt, and the only way this salt is getting into the gnocchi is by pouring it directly into the water. You should always salt your pasta water anyway, but especially when you're dealing with something that's going to be served so simply as gnocchi. We're not going to be frying these in butter. We're just probably going to add a little bit of olive oil and some herbs to it when we're serving it. Last time Presto was here, we made some pesto that would be delicious on this. Anyway, so now we want to drop these in one at a time. And you kind of want to drop them in far away from one another. You don't want them to stick together. And one of the things you definitely want to avoid, see how few? This is a huge amount of water. I've got just a few of these gnocchi in here. The reason that I'm only doing a couple at a time is because 1, they cook quickly and I want to see them as they cook, and 2, they will stick together. Again, this is a very, very sticky dough. So make sure that you take your time with these. They will stay warm. Don't worry about it too much. Now, as soon as you drop them into the water, they are going to go straight down to the bottom. Because this water is boiling so hard, they might float around a bit, but wait until they float all the way to the top. As you see, some of these are floating all the way up to the top. They take no time at all to cook. It takes maybe 45 seconds to 1.5 minutes for each serving or each batch that you throw in, so it's not going to take too long to get through your entire plate of gnocchi. So just be careful and do them as you go. This is really rolling a lot. These have started to float. I'm going to take these out with a slotted spoon. You can tell it's done. It holds together. See, it's not, if I tried to squish this when it wasn't cooked, then it wouldn't hold together. So I'm just going to take these and just take them out with a slotted spoon. I would not necessarily recommend pouring these into a strainer, and the reason I'm saying that is because they are very delicate. They're very pillowy. Like I said, I keep saying plump little pillows of pasta. You do not want these to sit at the bottom of a colander or dump a bunch of water into a colander, because then you'd also have to start all over again. So now I have some more that I can just drop in. I tend to drop these from up too high. Make sure that you're dropping them in. Now we're just going to finish these up, and then I'll show you how I'm going to serve them. Can you see the steam coming off of these? These are right out of being cooked. These are Pesto's perfectly plump potato pasta pillows, let's say. Normally with gnocchi, I would fry them up in some butter after boiling them. But because this is a vegan dish, I am going to just pour a little bit of olive oil over this. Now, folks have said that when I finish a dish, sometimes they say that there's more than 3 ingredients. This recipe is for the gnocchi themselves. How you finish it is up to you. So if I was going to show you a recipe for regular noodles, let's say, the 3 ingredients would be for the noodles themselves, and then you can dress that with some sauce, with a little bit of butter and cheese, whatever you want. This gnocchi right here is, I am going to say you don't want to eat that all by itself, so I'm just going to pour a little bit of good extra virgin olive oil over the top. Not too much. And then I'm going to finish this. Like with one of our more recent dishes, I am going to finish up the remainder of our summertime herb garden, and I'm going to put some basil on top of that. How simple is that? That is an incredibly easy dish. It's 3 ingredients for the pasta and then another, let's say, 10 cents full of finishing things, and you have a terrific dinner. It is vegan, it is delicious, it's good for you, and you've made your own pasta. What could be better than that?
Wow, potato pasta.
Potato pasta.
Potato pasta.
What I call them.
No tomato sauce.
No tomato sauce. This just has a little bit of olive oil and some of the basil from our garden, the basil that you didn't get from our garden because you got a lot of that. Remember, you made pesto earlier this week.
Oh yeah, pesto with presto.
This would be perfect with pesto on it. You could also, if you
Potatoes with pesto.
Potato with pesto. You could
Made
also.
by presto.
Yep. You could eat
Also
also.
parsley.
Yeah, you could put parsley on it. Yes.
Yeah, well, basil didn't begin with a P, so I had to improvise.
Oh, okay. Improvise.
Let's pretend.
Okay, so you can do this with, if you're not going to keep it vegan, you could always fry these in butter, but you could also put, you could put tomato sauce on it. You could put a pesto on it.
Pomodoro sauce.
You could put pomodoro sauce on it.
That's tomato sauce.
That,
Pomodoro begins with a P.
exactly. So this is really great with all sorts of different things, including a lot of different things that we made on this channel, including 2 kinds of spaghetti sauce and some pesto. So,
but no ice cream, I would imagine.
No, I have not heard of ice cream.
Gnocchi ice cream?
Never heard of gnocchi ice cream.
Gnocchi hot fudge sundae.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no to those gnocchis.
Oh, you made a joke.
Yeah, I did.
You made a pun. P word.
Presto, this was so much fun.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry you missed my birthday, but we had a lot of fun.
Well, it was the postal service that was the problem.
The problem with the postal service kept you, but Patrick and Presto made some perfect pillows of potato pasta.
Precisely.
Precisely. So what can the viewers do if they like this?
The people?
The people. What can the people do if they've liked this video?
Well, they can subscribe down below. Or,
yep.
There's a P word that's a synonym of that.
Nope. Subscribe. You can subscribe down below.
You pass it on.
Pass it on. Definitely.
There we go.
If you share this video on Twitter, on Facebook, email a link to your friends. That really helps us out and gets the word out that this is a series that you really like.
And you can post it on social media.
Posting it on social media certainly helps. So thanks very much. We also have a couple other things that happen on this channel. On Tuesdays, I talk about long hair. Mm-hmm. And then on weekends, George, you know George.
Of course.
George is a cat, and he talks about self-esteem, and sometimes you're on that.
Oh, well, once anyway.
Yep, once, maybe again sometime soon.
Well, so I had an idea.
Okay.
So since I missed your birthday,
mm-hmm.
how about we put in there, put me back in the box, and I'll mail myself for your brother's birthday.
Oh, that's right. That's soon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let me see if I can get,
all right,
get that box.
All right.
Let's just put you back in the box. Okay.
Ow, my ear!
Oh, you okay?
Oh, I'm fine.
All right, ready?
Okay, all
and go!
Oh!
Well, thanks very much for joining me. Have a great day. Our next ingredient for any pasta would be
purpose flour. Another P word.
All-purpose flour.
All-purpose flour.
Yep. So this is another.